going to explode with questions and concerns about parenting, education, and what is right for you and your child.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Mindful Mummies podcast. I'm Bree.
And I'm Stina.
And we're sisters-in-law with backgrounds in education, and combined we have 5 very busy boys.
Our hope is to create a community for parents where we can learn, laugh, and support each other.
We'll be joined by special guests who inspire us and bring different perspectives to the table.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Mindful Mummies podcast number 12. This is our very first Mompreneur episode, and we're super excited about it. I have had the privilege of knowing Alexandra, who is our guest today, as a colleague and friend for over 10 years now. We first met teaching together at the same French immersion school many years ago and hit it off right away. Her openness and acceptance towards others always makes her fun and engaging to be with. Alexandra is one of the hardest working, organized, thoughtful, caring, and authentic people I have ever met. Whatever challenge she is presented with, she handles it with grace and positivity. From becoming a mom to moving to a new city and starting a whole new life, from running her own business to learning how to advocate for her son's serious allergies, from finding her own balance with health and wellness to inspiring and motivating others to be healthy and find their balance. She never ceases to amaze me. Alexandra is a true entrepreneur working tirelessly to grow her business every day. She's a loving and caring partner and mama and a passionate educator, amazing cook, lifelong learner, and experienced teacher and tutor. We can't wait for today's interview. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you. You're so kind.
Aww. Can I just interrupt and say that Stina just did that whole thing while breastfeeding? I'm so impressed. Talk about power, Mom. Like, holy.
You managed to not bite me, which...
Oh, God.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Hi, Alexandra. Welcome to the show. We're so happy you're here.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking the time, because you're a mom and you're busy and you've got your own stuff going on. And
oh my gosh, I can't believe how much you do. I can't believe it. Anyway.
It's a fine art. It's a science. It's a lot of organization to make all of this work.
Yeah.
I'm excited to learn some things from you today because I'm at the moment feeling like I'm having a very hard time balancing all the things and getting packed up and out the door in snow gear with 3 kids into school on time. And I know you have a lot more snow in Toronto than we have in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Do you have snow right now?
Funny enough, no. This is the first time.
Wow,
that
which is
you guys
unheard of.
Dump the snow because we're out in Toronto, and it's crazy weather. It was like 9 degrees on Friday, down to like -6 on Sunday. It's all my kids want is snow and make a snowman. So yeah.
Okay, so I thought we would start off talking about teaching because that's how we met.
Yeah.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit about your teaching history and how you decided to be a teacher and where you've worked and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm actually from Richmond, BC, and I grew up taking French immersion. So I was in French immersion preschool, French immersion elementary school, high school, and then in university, I specialized in French. And I've always wanted to be in teaching because I love helping others. I love having my own classroom. I come from a family of teachers too, so and I love that it allows you to be creative and show your different passions that you love. So I would when I was in Richmond, I had, a passion for technology and music and dance and so I've done that. It was 10 years, right? Yeah. That's when we first met. It was our first teaching contract. It's crazy. So, and I guess I've taught. What did I teach? Grade 1 for a couple of years. I would say that my favorite grade to teach would be grade 2-3.
Yeah, I'm with you. Grade 2-3. I love grade 2-3. So fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot you're a piano teacher too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a little bit. Growing up, I've always done little things on the side. Like I tutored French after school before I had kids. And then I taught piano, and I haven't had the chance to play so much recently, but yeah.
Nice. Do your kids play piano?
They want to start to, but we're going to see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's a little challenging when it's your own kids.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But I used to have a dance team out in Richmond where I'd have a group of kids at lunch hour, and we do choreography. We did flash mobs. It's, I love kids. So it was, yeah.
Your own children.
Yes. So, and then I had Leo, and then I went back to work for very quickly. We got pregnant to our surprise, and then had Natalia, and then we moved out here to Toronto, so it'll be 4 years.
And how old were Leo and Natalia when you moved?
Oh gosh,
I was trying to remember
Natalia was 3 months old, and Leo was not even 2. So they're 18, 20 months apart.
Wow.
That was one of the hardest things I've ever done, was to pick up and leave. I am half Italian, and I have a big family. I'm really social, to leave that network and just move us across the country. And I knew when I met my husband that for his line of work, we would have to go to Toronto, do a stint, and then our plan was always to move back to Vancouver. But I didn't anticipate it happening that quickly. But it was one of the toughest things of just being in a new city, trying to navigate it all. And he was away a lot for work. So you go through that postpartum of, okay, I've got 2 kids under 2 in a new city, and a son who was just diagnosed with some severe food allergies literally a month before we left.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a 3-month-old baby.
Yeah. Well, she was knock on wood. She was really easy compared to how Leo was. She was she would sleep. She was. I'm very grateful that because of that, it could have been way worse.
So what changes did you make to your career when you moved to Toronto? I mean, you were on mat leave, so what did you do?
So I took a year of mat leave, and then we took another year, and then I decided it came to the point where we were either coming back so I can continue my contract, or I would have to resign. And while being here, so I took that leave, I realized that going back to teaching wasn't something that I could do because I didn't have the support that I needed to do it, because my husband was traveling so much. Financially, it didn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
So I ended up chatting with my sister-in-law, and she mentioned she partnered with Rodan Fields skincare. So I thought, well, you know what? I've always done something on the side. This maybe warrants a second look. And I realized they're the #1 skincare brand in North America. It's something that is really flexible. It's not, there's no sales pressure, because I thought, how the heck am I going to do this with 2 kids under 2 and start a business? Like, why would I do that and put something else on my plate? But I really missed a community. Mm-hmm. And my family and the teaching community, and seeing my sister-in-law really thrive with this group of ladies. And I thought, you know what, if I don't change something, this is just going to stay the same. So I might as well give it my best shot and see how it goes. And I'm one of the top consultants. I'm an independent consultant with them, and I have a team of 15 across Canada, and we're in the US, Canada, Australia. We're the fastest rising skincare brand in Australia, and we're launching in Japan in the spring. So everything is super exciting, but all in all, I ended up kind of starting this because I wanted I've something of my own, just feeling really lost of having gone from the kids to having nothing to really wanting a community and something to and to contribute to that. My husband's wonderful and never ever makes me feel like I can't buy things or that it's our money, but knowing that I could do it because it was mine, and it kind of takes that pressure off. But so yeah, I do that. I'm teaching part-time at one of the independent schools out here. So just to get my feet back into it, because I do miss the classroom. I miss kids and all of that other opportunity of doing dance and technology and all that. So it's a nice balance right now.
Yeah. So you're 1 day a week in the classroom?
Yeah. So whenever they're really flexible. So with Glenn's work schedule, he's often out of town, so our school schedules don't line up completely with my kids' school. So they just ask me every week what I want to work. So it's really nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's so nice to have that flexibility and
yes.
Yeah. So
it makes such a difference.
Running your own business from home, like Brie and I were just talking about this. We were like, oh my gosh. We love doing podcasts. We love doing the Mindful Mummies. It's so much fun for us, but we're finding it so challenging to find these like chunks of time that are uninterrupted. And time where, like we've got the baby with us right now and the kids are playing upstairs and and one's at school. And how do you find the time? How do you carve out these chunks of time where you can actually like be productive and get things done?
That's what I find is the busier you are, the easier it is to carve out time, because you're like, okay, I gotta get this done. And if it doesn't get done, then I'm really hooped, but it really forces me. So I like to start my day. I get up before the kids. I am not a morning person, but I find that it puts me in a better mindset. I sit with my coffee. I do a gratitude journal of 5 things I'm grateful for, which I bought the Rachel Hollis's Start Today journal, and it talks about like your dreams and your ambitions, and you talk in the present tense, so it gets you like, oh yeah, I can do this. And
can I plan out the name of that again?
Yeah, it's Rachel Hollis.
Yeah, Rachel Hollis.
It's her Start Today journal.
Okay.
And I think you can pick it up at Target. They might be sold out now because everyone is.
I wonder if they're on Amazon. We'll have a look.
Maybe, yeah. And off of her website too, I think. So, and then I plan out my day. So how my business works is we are all through referrals. That's how Rodan Fields got started, was they were actually in department stores first and realizing that people weren't coming to the counter off of anything Nordstrom or Saks they were doing. It was literally, my neighbor told me to get this serum. My sister's using this. So they said, let's put it online and see what happens. So what I do is I reach out and tell people what I do, and if it's for them, then great. If it's not, it's no worries. But I share all about products like I would with anything else. Like what, teething toys do you use? What baby balls do you use? What jeans do you find are best after postpartum? Like anything like that. So what I do is I craft all of my messages and who I think would really benefit from our skincare or our business. And then I get that out of the way, and then I deal with my kids because in the morning, because it's so hectic, because I find the kids in the morning are really, they're excited to go to school, but they're nervous because they love being at home just after the holidays. So I give them my undivided attention till I drop them off. And then I proceed with my day. So I like to do it in chunks. So I'll find time in the morning. I'll do it like over a lunch hour or when they're in bed. But I also got another planner that's really helped me out. It's called the Content Planner. And I shared it in my stories, I think, last week. And it's basically... I'm a visual person, so I like seeing all of the weeks at a glance. And whereas it differs from an agenda where you just see it every week. And what it'll do is it'll give you little stickers of things that you want to get done, like for Facebook, Instagram, deadlines that you need to hit, or things how you've grown in the week, what was a success, what would you change. So it really, I think, makes you more present and kind of evaluate on a weekly basis of like, okay, how am I doing? And common themes, they have hashtags, because our business is remote, is over, can be run over social media. You don't have to, but because we want to reach the largest audience possible, it's important to make sure that you hit all of those key points. So I find like chunking it different times of the day, but making it consistent so that becomes a habit. So yeah.
I love that. The content planner, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
We'll put those links too. If we can find them maybe on Amazon or something, we'll put the links, or at least make suggestions that on our show notes for sure. Of those that you both recommended.
Baby Magnus.
Sorry, we've got a talking baby. He wants to be part of the podcast.
He wants to be part of it. You're learning, starting them young, right?
Yeah. Well, that's really helpful.
Maybe we should move on to talking a little bit about some of the strategies you've learned for allergies. So you talked a little bit about how this all comes, I think, full circle. I feel like the theme for you is like balance. I don't know how you balance all these things. Like when I was going through preparing for this podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, you teach, you have 2 kids. I mean, we all do so much, but you're also like this amazing chef and you're cooking all this. I follow you on Instagram and get to see all this stuff, cooking these meals. Alexandra got me onto the Tone It Up app like a couple of years ago when I really wanted to get back in shape after having my second baby, and that literally like saved me. And she would text me every morning and be like, are you up? Are you working out? Like, how are you doing? So you're just like, I don't know, you're amazing.
Motivational.
Yeah, so motivational.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So on top of all that, you found out when Leo was 2 that he had severe allergies, right? You want to tell us a little bit about how that
So I was 8 months pregnant. We were still in BC, and we gave him some salmon, and we aren't big fish people. But I thought, oh, well, we've gone to Steveston and we've given him cod and halibut, like fish and chips on the dock. And he's never had a reaction. It's not ever something you ever think is going to happen to your child.
Oh, so scary.
Being
like
an
I get
educator
chills
and
thinking
having kids in the classroom that have allergies, I was very aware of it, but never to this extent. So we started to kind of like...
Sorry, Alexandra. Is it hereditary? Like, do you have it in your family? Food allergies?
No. So they have different theories about how this has come to be, which can be also very controversial. They say that people that have eczema are more prone to have allergies. I developed eczema on my hands after having kids. Oh, wow. My sister has eczema, and has always had to put some creams on it. And my husband's side of the family, his sister and brother and a few of his nieces and nephew are celiac. Okay. So they think that maybe that combination. There's other people that think because you had a traumatic C-section birth, that there's a lot. Wow, I know there's a lot of it's very interesting. And then when I met Jamie Oliver on the weekend, which was like in a moment in itself, and I was telling him about I know, and I was scrolling because I'm always on my phone like checking messages, and Indigo popped up and said Jamie Oliver's coming to Sherway Gardens if you want to get a ticket. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go. So I got a ticket and I said, you know what, I'm going to make the most of this. And this is so funny because 4 years ago, the old me would have gone, oh, that's cool. I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm going to go by myself? Are you kidding? Like, why would I do that? And so I made the most of it and just said, you know what, my family and I admire you so much in your cooking and want to say thank you because it's made me be a more adventurous cook because our son has some severe food allergies, and it makes it really hard to navigate restaurants when your son goes, I want to have a spring roll. I'm like, well, hard pressed finding a spring roll that doesn't contain sesame. Or it doesn't have any cross-contamination. So he said, oh, that really means a lot to me. And he said, there's a country, and I should have looked this up, but he said, this country does not have anyone that has peanut allergy.
Oh,
really?
And you wonder, what is it? Is it how the grains are processed? Is it how food is processed? Or, yes, that's a whole debate in itself. So, where was I going with this?
Just say, like, it's something you just don't think about as a parent who has a child who have children, that if you don't have a child that has allergies, you just don't think about it. And I have a child that has the most, like, minimal allergy. Like, he breaks out in a rash if he has tomatoes, but every time he sees a tomato, he wants it. And it does. It's kind of like you feel terrible that you have to say, no, you can't. You can't have your tomatoes. Your brother can have them, but you can't. And so it's such an interesting, anyways, that's my only relation to it, but I can relate in such a small way to that.
So he started to, back to like his reaction. So he started kind of spitting out the food, and we saw some rashes develop on his chin, and I called 911, and they said, do you need an ambulance? Do you want to go to the hospital? And they said, what about his lips? And we were right around the corner from Peace Arch Hospital. And because we did a trial run for this, our second child anyways, we're like, okay, what's going to happen? Where are we going to go? And so by that time, we had him in the car strapped in and just bolted down there. It would have been faster to do that than to wait for an ambulance. And at the end, they go, okay, well, here's some Benadryl and some Zantac, because I guess that helps absorb better.
Right.
And you need to go see an allergist. Like, what? Yeah, your son's allergic to fish. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And even though I saw his face, I'm like, no, he's not. And you go through that denial of like, well, why? Why is this happening? So, I contacted a student of mine's who is anaphylactic to peanuts. I contacted her mom because I trusted her and said, who do you go to? Who is the best allergist? And she gave me the name of a doctor. So we went and saw him, and we'd also given him peanuts when you're supposed to give them peanuts. I can't even remember. It feels like it's so long ago when we first introduced it. But I remember giving it to him, and he just spit it out. Didn't want to eat it. And that's what usually they say, is that when they're young, the body just rejects it, and just that's their immediate reaction. He didn't have any spots, nothing.
Interesting.
We went to Five Guys one time, and there was peanuts everywhere. And he ate one, spat it out, no reaction. Wow. We go to the allergist and do the skin prick test for peanuts, pistachios, cashews, hazelnuts, walnuts, pecans, fish, shrimp, because you need to see if it's shellfish. And they go, okay, so you need to avoid, and give a huge list of all of these nuts.
And it's pretty traumatic, the tests, right, for the child. I've heard of them, that they're pretty traumatic. Yeah.
And they go, here's a prescription for an EpiPen.
Oh wow.
And he walked out, and I went, what?
And like,
why is there no? I
resources.
feel like they should have a counselor in the office to go, okay, let's talk about what this means for you and your family.
No kidding.
So that happened in September, October. We moved out here November, and I needed to find an allergist right away. I met one of my dear friends still, she at a play group, and her daughter happened to be also allergic to peanuts. And I said, who do you go see? And she said, go see Dr. Miller. And I am going to praise Dr. Miller on here because she's phenomenal. And she's, where is she out of? Sick Kids. I go, okay, so we go in and she is.
So sorry, Dr. Miller is located in Vancouver?
No,
Toronto.
In Toronto.
In Toronto,
Sick Kids
okay.
is the children's
In Toronto.
hospital in
Oh, Sick Kids, okay.
And
okay.
she works at a Sick Kids and St. Joe's, St.
Okay.
Joseph's Hospital. So we went and saw her and we did the whole gamut of testing again, but she took the time and really explained it to us. And we talked about like the psychology behind it of, once your son becomes more aware of his allergy, what that's going to mean in social situations. So yes.
So for parents who are listening now, if we have listeners in Toronto, what would be the process of getting through to that particular doctor, Dr. Miller?
I would go see your current doctor and say, I would like a referral because this is what I had to do. So coming here, anyone who moves to Toronto knows that it's a process in itself, trying to deal with Service Ontario, trying to get a doctor. Every doctor you call says, we're full. So I ended up having to go to a walk-in clinic and seeing a doctor. And I told her we needed an allergist and she gave me the name of somebody. And then I went back and said, I need you to give me a referral to Dr. Charlotte Miller. So that is the best way, is just to have the name of the doctor that you want to see, because she is fantastic.
How did you find out? So someone in Vancouver, if they're just finding out that their child has allergies and they need to find someone, is there anywhere you can look, like online, or how do you find?
Yeah. So the other resource I found was Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have, for each city, they have one I'm in part of both of them. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the name right, but if you Google or Allergy Group Toronto or Allergy Group Vancouver, there's a whole group site where you can post questions and people can ask about allergists because we're a big community. When you're doing that, you feel like you're alone and trying to navigate food.
That's so nice.
Like trusting, right? And and calling different companies about their labeling, which is something else too, right? Like not all companies write on their label if there's cross-contamination, because they have to update their policies by an X date. And I know this because I had to call a certain company and ream them out and ask them, why did they not put the may contain statement on there? Wow. They said, oh, well, we're in the process of doing that. I said, and there was the back kind of a roundabout way of answering me, but so that's what's helpful, is going on there and someone will say, have you bought what can I think of? Stone wheat thins. Does it contain traces of? Have you contacted the company? Because the company will send you an email saying, what's the UPC code? And then we can track it and say these crackers were made on this line and it's not cross-contaminated with X. So when you're trying to figure out like all these different brands, and then you deal with different countries, it's can be very overwhelming. So I would highly recommend Facebook groups, and really getting to know people in there, because it can be really helpful.
Wow, that's a great tip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Leo's in school. He's in grade 1. Is that right?
No, so he's in kindergarten. So out in Toronto, we have JK, junior kindergarten, and senior kindergarten. So he's in senior kindergarten.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he's okay. And so how did it go when obviously by then you'd had a couple of years experience getting used to his allergies. How did it go when he started school?
I had some panic attacks and major anxiety over trusting a group of strangers.
Absolutely, yeah.
With my son's life, basically, because he's anaphylactic. So and trusting the parents of those kids. And the class sizes here are massive for JK, SK. So they have, I think he has like 34 kids in his class.
For one student and one teacher?
One teacher and one ECE.
Okay.
So what I've learned is you need to be very proactive and you need to know what should be done. So in terms of a school, you need to meet with the principal. So even now,
I'm just reporting these steps down.
Yeah.
So,
meet with the principal, or even if it's preschool, meet with them and find out what their policy and procedures are. For instance, here, they say it's a blanket statement of we are a nut-free school, but if someone were to bring in nuts, they would be at the office. So they don't get sent home. They are seated at the office and they eat their lunch. They get a note sent home to the parent. Our classroom, for instance, is phenomenal. The school is phenomenal. I'm so happy with our school. The principal sends home a note on the first day that says, there's a student in the class that has allergies to XYZ. We ask that you refrain from bringing them to school. And then she went through with me of like what a typical day would look like in the classroom. So the kids come in with their lunches, the teacher and the ECE go through the lunches.
Wow.
And make sure, so Leo's allergic to all nuts, sesame seeds, which is the recent one, and fish. So they go through and they check. Now, just looking at like a trail mix is challenging because they don't know if there's been sesame in there because not everything is in packages. So what they've said is now there's controversy over, okay, well, do you separate the kid from the rest of the class?
Yeah.
But when you want to have it be inclusive. So Leo sits at a table and with a friend and he will rotate through different friends. But now that it's got to the point where we've educated the kids so much that they tell the parents at home, you know what, Leo's allergic to this. You can't make me walnut or you can't make me pistachio pesto. I can't bring in this stir fry to school. Wow. I can't have salmon sandwiches. So going back, sorry, I'm all over the place. I would say meet with the principal, talk about policies and procedures. He brings in the lunch, and then what happens is after every snack time, they wipe everything down. Okay. The kids wash all of their hands so that if there was a contamination, it would be, they would have their hands washed. And there's been a few instances where, grandma and grandpa forget, or it's a babysitter or someone, and they'll eat lunch outside the classroom. And then they'll come back in and wash their hands. But, and then another thing I did, which I met, this amazing woman out here who, there wasn't any of this in place when her son's in college now. And she went around to all of the classrooms and educated them about like what this should look like and made a committee. And she said, it always starts with the kids. So get a book. So my recommendation is, there's Daniel Tiger has an allergy, and there's even the episode that we actually watch quite often. He likes to read the books, and Daniel's allergic to peaches. So and it goes through like what that looks like, what the doctor's gonna do, and lists like things that you should really watch out for. So, and then another one I bought it off of Amazon was Peanut Free Cafe, and talks about inclusion. So I go in at the start of the year and we read the book.
Nice.
And then the kids have...
So you go in and read the book to the class.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we talk about like, if you were having a reaction, what would that look like? What's your job? Your job is to get help. And so that they, and I heard from several parents that it really helped a lot in terms of, like I said, with packing lunches and snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, having an emergency plan, because this I didn't know, that every kid is different when it comes to allergies. So Leo, we just had this talk last night. So for instance, we go to our favorite burger restaurant called Burger's Priest. Amazing burgers. They do not use sesame seeds on their buns. They have, however, treats that may contain nuts, but they're in packages. So we have the burgers there. This all about comfort level of what you feel comfortable doing. So we've gone there loads of times. What I do, I get my Lysol wipes. I wipe down the tables. I wipe down the chairs. I wipe down his hands. We go to the bathroom. We order our food. We sit back down at the table. He's eating his burger. And like 15 minutes later, he gets this little bump on his chin. And I'm looking at it going, what is that? Is it a hive?
Oh.
So I wipe his face, wipe his hands, and I start to retrace my steps. Okay, where did I feel like I failed? What went wrong? Is it the burger? Is it something he touched? So each kid reacts to allergens differently. It could be by touch, and they go into anaphylaxis. It could be by smell anaphylaxis. It could be ingestion. So Leo's ingestion, if he touches it, he'll develop a hive.
Okay.
So if it's ingested, he will have hives all over his face and body. His lips will swell up. He'll struggle to breathe. He most likely will be vomiting. And some people don't have any of that and just vomit. So that's why an emergency plan is very specific. Because I remember reading and going, well, it's like everything, right? Like that's what's going to happen to everybody, but everybody's different. So,
we were just on an airplane a couple days ago, and they made an announcement at the beginning of the flight, and they're like, we have an airborne nut allergy.
Airborne.
Yeah, and so they're like, you're not allowed to eat any nuts on the plane.
Good.
Yeah, and so they made an announcement, and they actually were checking. The flight attendants were walking up and down the aisle, and if you had like a granola bar, they were like, please make sure there's no nuts in that, because it was so serious.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable the impact it has on your life and your family. And this is why it's so shocking to me that there's not some form of strategy plan in place for parents who go through this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, wow.
This is making me want to look into what's available here in Vancouver too, because a lot of our listeners are here in Vancouver. As far as I don't know. I mean, Children's Hospital here is amazing. I know they have dietitians and they have. Yeah. So I don't know what's in place here, but
what I found the Facebook group is really helpful. Really helpful because there was a point where Leo refused to eat in new restaurants because he started to really go, do I trust this person that's cooking this food?
No
Who is this person? What are we doing? And being in a new country, so traveling. So we were in Boston in the summer and he started to act up. And I remember having to take him aside and say, what's really wrong? Because I know that him smacking the table and kind of trying to hide isn't him being bad. It's him really struggling with something new. So he said, how do I know that the chef is going to make sure it's nut free?
Wow.
So what I do for new restaurants is I always call ahead and ask to speak to the chef and say, my son has some severe food allergies. Are you able to accommodate? And they will say, well, what are they? And then they'll walk me through the different process. And typically, kids love burgers, fries, chicken nuggets, pizza. I mean, he's a very adventurous eater, but when he goes out, those are the things that we find there's less cross-contamination. So, this one restaurant in Boston was fantastic and said, we can make him a burger. what we'll do is we have a hot plate that we put on top of the stove because we grill salmon on there.
Right.
But what we're going to do is this one's specifically for people that are celiac and people that have allergies.
Okay.
And then if you're talking to the person and they are kind of wishy-washy and saying, well, we have some stuff in place, you know that they really don't, because they would just have something concrete. And if you feel any way, shape, or form nervous about it, I wouldn't. There's a few places I've had to say, no, we'll find somewhere else. And you just have to, you end up having to be really strong and really advocate and kind of know your rights within like how food should be prepared. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
That's okay.
We're just lots of things are happening right now.
That's all right.
We can cut this
We're
out.
on damage control with our children.
Yeah, it's life though.
Yeah.
What was the other thing?
And so what about as far as like, say, as far as a play date goes, your child made a new friend, and now how do you tackle that conversation with the parents?
I was so nervous when that happened. I'm like, well, how are we ever gonna have play dates?
Yeah.
Because kids love peanut butter. They love peanut butter, and how am I going to do this in someone's house when they've like smeared peanut butter all over their chairs and at breakfast time, because no one, so what I do is I first say, we would love to have a play date. I just need to make you aware of that Leo has some severe food allergies. And he's also allergic to dogs.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, and he is, so, and it's so cute because when he meets somebody new, he's like, do you have a dog at home?
Oh.
and they go, no. Oh, yes, we can have a play date.
Oh.
And
Cute.
so I say, he's got these food allergies. Would you feel more comfortable coming to our house?
Yeah.
Or would you like to meet somewhere? And I've had some people who are vegan who eat a lot of different nuts. Like he can't have cashews, pistachios, peanuts. He can have walnuts, almonds, pecans, but I know it's in a lot of like alternate to cheeses. So they'll say, you know what, we would love to have a play date, but we don't feel comfortable having you over. But, we'd love to have you over. So and if they do say, no, we're happy to have you over, they'll say, what can I do in advance? And I'll say, if you just refrain from having nuts that morning and just wipe down your counters, then we're good. And it's also to empowering your child. Like Leo has been fantastic because we do a lot of role play. So we'll go to the park. And when we first got diagnosed, I got him an allergy identification bracelet. I think it's called Universal ID, and it's got like little dinosaurs on it. And he'll go up and say, hi, my name is Leo. I'm allergic to all nuts, sesame seeds, and fish. And he's just very like, ta-da, this is who I am.
Yeah. And
the parents go, wow, thank you for telling us, because we had peanut butter this morning. Or, we've had fish for lunch. So we'll say, that's fine, just as long as your hands are washed. And Leo, we don't give kisses and hugs and respecting people's space in that way. So, and we've practiced like being at school, right? Mm-hmm. Sharing food with 30 other kids, going, wow, look at that cookie that you have for lunch. Look at that cracker with all of these hidden allergens that I am petrified about. So he will go, okay, here, Leo, do you want a cookie? And he'll go, no, thanks, I'm allergic. Or if someone brings something that has a package, he knows I need to read the label first. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing I wanted to mention is, as a school, when you go in, finding out the food programs. So if it's a pizza lunch, we have the previous school that we were at, the principal said, I recommend him not participating in the food program so he gets used to only accepting food from home. So regardless if pizza doesn't have any of the allergens, he just knows mommy brings pizza. So I end up making pizza. We found an amazing chain here, Pizza Nova, which is fantastic with allergies. So I just do that for him. But so he knows I only accept food from mommy, even if it's a cookie. And that's a real learning curve, because there was one last year at his other school. He came home with an apple in his backpack. And I go, where did this come from? I don't know who touched it. Where was it washed? Did that person have something else on it beforehand when they're on their hands before they touched the apple? So I said, I don't care if it's an apple, you're not accepting anything. So this year, our teacher's son is allergic to peanuts, so she's well versed and went through all of the ingredients in the school to show me, like, Play-Doh, is this Play-Doh okay? Is this brand of paint okay? I know, it's crazy. And she was fantastic. And so a little boy brought in Starbursts to school.
Yeah.
And she wrote me a note and said, this bag had not been opened. I wanted to send you the bag itself, and there's a candy inside. So know that nothing has been touched if you wanted to give it to Leo. Like, that's amazing that she took that extra step to do that so that he could feel included. So I always end for parties. That's another thing, depending on the school, if they do potlucks, if they celebrate birthdays, we always have snacks left at school so he can feel included.
Wow. It's just,
I know,
I'm learning so much. Like, these are just things that you just never think about if you don't have a child.
And the one thing I really learned is that it's that cross-contamination piece that people don't realize. And I feel like, okay, this has happened so that I can share this journey and everything and educate people of that. Just because it doesn't have an actual nut in it doesn't mean it's nut free.
Right.
You always need to read labels. And they're getting better at it now. If it says, and it depends on your comfort level, may contain traces of peanuts, was used on equipment that also processes peanuts, tree nuts, sesame seeds, and fish. I just found that out with the Wilton brand when we were decorating Leo's cake this weekend. I'm like, all right, we are using sprinkles. So,
it's, it's so interesting because every now and then I've heard some people who just don't get it say, oh, like, what's it going to be next? We can't have peanut butter. We can't have hummus. What's it going to be next, right? And you don't know. Just wait until you're that parent who has a child whose life is in danger due to some ingredient. I just think it's so beneficial, this podcast, for not only parents of children who have allergies, but parents of children who do not have allergies, as well as teachers, too, who are dealing with all sorts of different children who have restrictions.
Well, when we go visit my mom, she makes sure, because she eats peanut butter at home when we're not there, and she's totally entitled to. So what we say is, please don't have it while we're there. And everything needs to be wiped down. You need to get a new jam. You need to get a new butter. You need to get anything that would ever touch it. And that is the extent that I did. It's a big education for family too. I mean, my mom's a teacher, and there's still stuff that I have to teach her and say, no, like, you can't have these nuts in the fridge.
Right.
Because it's the dust. Like, what happens if you open it? It's I don't want to ever take that chance. So, and she's even admitted, she's like, I've been an educator for how many years? I mean, no, how many years? She's still teaching. And she's like 65. And she's like, it's that cross-contamination that people don't realize. So, and there's varying degrees, too, of allergies. Some people feel comfortable with may contain statements. But Leo's is so severe that I don't want to ever take that chance. So we're really lucky that we've got companies that are more aware now and will say, this is allergen free, like the Made Good brand. The fig bars that you can get from Costco. I can't remember. Nature's
Path?
Yes.
Nature's Path.
Yeah. So you slowly, and that's what that Facebook groups are really great for, is that these brands that you never really would hear about, or the shoppers will often carry, like Easter and like Valentine's Day is coming up, chocolates, right? They'll have nut-free stuff. Often there's like ironic going to Shoppers to get chocolates as opposed to like the grocery store that you think would have it. But
Sorry. Did you want to ask a question? I'm so fascinated in this. I think like as a parent, like my question to you is how did you deal with the anxiety that must come along and being able to just let go and trust other people with your children or with your child?
It's funny. Coming out here 4 years ago, I was a highly, highly anxious person. Even had a little bit of social anxiety that I'm like, how am I going to meet people? How am I going to talk about this? Who do I trust? Like, how am I going to get a babysitter? How do I know, like, what they've eaten? What can they take care of my child on top of this allergy? So I've learned to really educate people and surround myself with people that I trust and go, you know what? I've given him all of the tools. I've educated. So there's so many pieces to it that you have to put in place for you to feel.
And it's a process. It must, it's a huge process.
So that first day I dropped him off for junior kindergarten, I bawled my eyes out. Like looking at my phone going, am I going to get a phone call? Yeah. But my girlfriend, Simone, I called her crying and she goes, you know what, Sorry. That's okay. If he's going to have an allergic reaction, he'll have an allergic reaction and they'll follow the process.
Yeah.
There's an EpiPen and there is a process. He'll go to the hospital and he will be fine.
Yeah.
But knowing that there's those systems are in place will alleviate that anxiety. So that's why meeting with the principal, educating your family and friends, and being very firm of like with that aunt who wants to give him a cookie.
Yeah.
I don't know if that flour, I made it when I made the peanut butter cookies.
Yeah.
And, that stuff is from bulk. I bought my chocolates from Bulk Barn. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
And I will know everything needs to be packaged. And so that's a big thing, is like even accepting cookies and treats from friends. It'll say, my kitchen's nut free. I made sure I use like brand new stuff. Like the part of me inside is like, do I risk it?
Yeah.
Because you can't, it's not something you can see.
Yeah.
But I've wanted to get this. My husband was telling me about it. It's a tool that his coworker brought to Thailand when he went, and you take like a snippet of like the bread or whatever it is and put it on there, and it measures whether or not it has the allergen in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he went to Thailand. He's anaphylactic to peanuts.
Wow.
And was able to eat.
Wow.
And my old hairdresser is anaphylactic to peanuts, and she would call this restaurant repeatedly. They were fine, but she got someone that didn't know. Someone must have put the peanuts on her pad thai, but then took them off.
Oh.
And then because it touched it. So that's the piece, is like just because it could have been there before.
Yeah.
Or a lot of, like, Tim Hortons is huge out here. People love Tim Hortons, and they'll bring baked goods over and say, well, there's no nuts in it. I'll go, thank you. But so that's kind of how I've developed my cooking, is because I've gone, I don't want him to feel left out.
Yeah.
I don't want, like, he's never been able to have a donut until like I started making them. But now in Toronto, there's so many different bakeries that are sesame free, nut free, but they're out to like in Vaughan, so that's pretty far. So nothing really local that is allergen-free bakery. So and it's that too of like, you know what, I'm going to try something new. And you put yourself out there like you do anything, right? So you just try, and that's how I've kind of, and it's like your kid goes, can I have spring rolls and pho for dinner? I'm like, oh, sure. All right, let me just whip that up for you. But then I go, that's amazing that that's what my kid wants to have for dinner.
And so you did it.
And so I did, yeah. So
oh my gosh.
Okay, you need to start
like a
YouTube cooking show,
that's what I put in my journaling for this month. Is like I want to be showing like more different recipes and because I don't want to say it's easy. It's not easy, but like following a recipe and trying things out. There's that sense of satisfaction too of like, what I just made.
Yeah.
Like my husband's cake, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's phenomenal what you just did.
Yeah. And how rewarding to be able to sit back and see your son enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah. And be like, I got an ice cream cake because he's wanted an ice cream cake forever, and we can't go to Dairy Queen and get one. So I made him I bribed him with a treats of pizza in the summertime after Pedal Heads. I'm like, you pass Pedal Heads and we'll make you treats of pizza. My husband goes, do you know how to make it? I'm like, no, but I'll figure it out. It's got to be, you know. And you also, I was saying this to my other friend, is that you're also paying attention to the ingredients that you're using. Right? Not a lot of additives. So it healthier.
Yeah. It helps you think about what you're putting in your body too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow. Well, I think this is all so amazing and so helpful to all of our listeners out there. The one last thing we just wanted to ask you was, with all these things going on, from running your own business and succeeding and becoming extremely successful in what you're doing, taking care of your two adorable kids. Oh my gosh, their children are so cute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Teaching, having a husband that works all the time. How do you take care of yourself? What are your favorite things to do to balance your own health and wellness?
I practice at Power Yoga Canada. Do you guys have it out there? Or is it just a East Coast thing?
I haven't heard of it before.
Okay, it's an amazing studio. And so I practice there twice a week. I do the Tone It Up. I'm trying to do it every day with this new challenge.
Yes, me too. I'm back on board with you now.
Yay!
Back from Hawaii, back in shape.
And my guilty pleasure is my skincare, not just because I love the product. It's because the products work. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm going to give myself a facial. I'm going to feel good at the end of the day. And that's what I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I love, my favorite thing is a bubble bath and a cup of tea or a glass of wine and putting a face mask on.
Yeah.
So nice. Yeah.
If people want to find you through Rodan Fields or want to order products, where can they go? Where can they go?
So if they want to contact me and have questions about Rodan Fields, they can DM me or send me an email. I always say contact the consultant that reached out to you about Rodan Fields first, whether it doesn't have to be me, but you can check out our website for information on our products and how they work.
Which is rodanandfields.com or
.ca. So if you go to .com, you just need to change it to the Canadian website, because we're also in Australia as well. And if anyone's intrigued to hear more about how the business side works, I am happy to share about that too.
Okay.
Awesome. And Alexandra very generously has gifted a giveaway for us to partner with her with. So we'll be sharing more about that too. Do you want to talk about that? Yeah,
so I will be helping anyone who wants to hear more about the products and be giving away $100 to use towards Rodan Fields products. New year, new skin, start taking care of yourself. That's kind of why I wanted to hop on here too, is just talking about like taking care of yourself, especially if you're an allergy mom, a new mom, trying to do it all. It's important to take some time for yourself at the end of the day.
Definitely.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, and we'll make sure we're keeping all of our listeners updated through our Instagram on that giveaway too. And
Perfect.
and then as far, I don't know, I'm sure we're gonna have some questions regarding allergies, so Alexandra's kindly offered to answer any of those questions. So if you do have any questions for Alexandra, you can contact us through our Instagram, or you can contact her too directly.
And we'll be sharing it all on our blog as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Alexandra. I learned so much today, and like I have a whole new respect for you mamas that are
Thank you.
taking care of their little ones with allergies. So thanks for that.
Thank you for being on today, and we've learned so much, and we'll talk to you again soon. Shortly after the recording of this podcast, Alexandra was inspired to begin a blog and website titled Happy Allergy Mom. If you have children with allergies, or you're curious about how to support other children with allergies, please make sure to check out her website and blog and her Instagram at Happy Allergy Mom. It's amazing.